You're listening to What It's Like with Luce, a podcast highlighting ordinary people doing extraordinary things. I'm your host, Lucy Norris, and on today's episode, I'm chatting with founder of Bike Row Ski and Performance Therapy Ireland. Swapping an engineering degree for a full-on career in the world of fitness and physical therapy, this week's founder has never been one to shy away from risk if it meant spending each day doing what he loved. Starting out by opening what would become North Dublin's first CrossFit affiliate and Ireland's first Catalyst Athletics weightlifting affiliate, things grew quite literally from strength to strength, and it's been all go for him ever since. Coming up with the idea to create a brand new studio class involving all three of the Concept 2 ergs, he launched his latest venture, aptly named Bike Row Ski, which in just a few months of business was attracting plenty of attention from overseas. Taking me through his journey from the very beginning, here's what it's like to be Stephen Weinmann. Before we get stuck into the episode, I just wanted to say that if there is a drop in sound quality throughout, I'm very sorry. But in respect of social distancing during COVID-19, I've had to record episodes remotely. In this challenging time, we're all trying our best, so I really hope everyone is staying safe and that you enjoy the episode. To start off, I think it would be good to go back to when you were younger and maybe kind of explore your initial relationship with fitness. Is it something that you've always been really interested in, or is it something that developed over time?
No, I think since I was young, I think it's always been a massive part of who I am. Like I had all these aspirations of playing for Liverpool when I was a kid. Never really got into the Gaelic Games side of things, but always into football. And I think I nearly enjoyed the training side of things more than the actual matches and all that kind of stuff. I enjoyed playing matches, but the training side of things always just fascinated me. Just that I could just go off on my own and just train and better myself. So I think kind of football was where that kind of started, and then that kind of moved into lots of things like golf and running and triathlon. And as the years went on, I just kept trying different things and kind of falling in love with a certain sport for a while and training to find what I could do in it, and then realizing that, yeah, I'm not going to make a career out of this or a living out of it, but I enjoy it. And then that kind of moved into real kind of training and going to the gym, and a commercial gym that wasn't too far from where I lived in Malahide, and I was going there nearly every single day. That was when I was in the end of school and in college, and I think that's where my kind of thoughts kind of changed from the college course that I was in to maybe getting involved into something in fitness.
I can only imagine how difficult setting up your own gym is between, finding space, equipment, clients, all of that. So what was it that made you go down that route and think, yeah, you wanted to do this for yourself and have your own place?
I think it was a funny time. It was I had been working in a commercial gym, and then I went to Australia for 6 months with my friends doing the whole travel thing. And when I was over there, I was having all sorts of thoughts as to what I was going to do. Was I going to continue in the fitness industry? But I wasn't really happy in the commercial setting, the big commercial gym setting where you were kind of doing a lot of sitting behind desks and not really coaching. And when I got back from Australia, I went into and started a physical therapy course with the Irish Physical Therapy Association. And while I was doing that, studying for the 3.5 years, I was working in a personal training clinic in Dublin city centre. And that was, during boom time, and everything was so flat out busy. We were doing, between 10 and probably between 10 and 20 half-hour PT sessions a day, Monday to Friday. It was absolutely bananas. We were so busy with it all. And I think it just got to the stage where I was so heavy into my own training, and realized that, I wasn't too shabby at it. I was pretty good, and people did like spending time with me on a one-to-one basis, that I said, look, and really not knowing and not realizing what it took to actually run a business and not just coach. I said, look, I think I can do this myself. So the time is right. There's not many small, functional fitness style gyms in Dublin. The whole CrossFit scene was only really getting going in Ireland then in 2009, 2010. So I said, look, I saw an opportunity, and I said, I think I can do this pretty well in the small to medium sized group setting, as well as personal training, as well as physical therapy, as well as run the business side of things, as well as social media. So every single hat I was wearing at the same time. And I just said, yeah, I'll go for it, and I'll give it a shot. But there was no real kind of thought in my head that, oh, this isn't going to work. I was just very, very driven and very focused on, I can do this myself. And I've done enough training courses to understand how to train people well and effectively. And I thought I had the personality for it. But I did definitely realize through the first year of opening up the gym that I have now, Performance Therapy Ireland in Kinseely, I don't have the business acumen or the business knowledge that I really should have before I opened. But I just had to make do and learn as I went,
Yeah, I mean, I think sometimes the best things come out of from just learning on your feet, as challenging as I'm sure it was. But so
yeah.
you came up with the idea, you knew that you wanted to do it. What's kind of the first practical step, I guess?
Yeah, so with PTI, it was very much so an idea that I had based upon, and it's still something that I strongly believe in to this day, is that everybody is an individual, and in the in the best case scenario where nobody needed to pay money and nobody needed to be paid money and everybody had enough time in the day to do everything that they needed to do, I still firmly believe from a strength training point of view, everybody should be trained individually. I firmly believe that, because from my physical therapy brain, I can't switch off the knowledge that I have that, some people should never squat at heavy weight, and some people should never deadlift, and some people should never, do a sit up, because we're all built differently, and we're all, we all come from different backgrounds and different anthropometry, like different body types. And some people are very much so what we would call like a double leg squatter, and some people what we would call a hip hinger, so they're very strong from a pulling point of view, and some people have a very weak core or a very weak lower back. And unfortunately, if you take 20 people and put them all under one roof and say, okay, we're all going to do deadlifts and sit-ups now, someone not necessarily is going to get hurt, but they're not going to get an effective workout, because that's not what they should be doing. So, I mean, from PTI, from the very inception, my whole idea was, it was about training people within the group setting, but giving them as much of an individualized approach as possible, because that's where I formulated all of my programming, and all of my knowledge was based upon one-to-one training or physical therapy, which is a one-to-one treatment. So I couldn't switch that off. So within Performance Therapy Ireland, we basically had, 3 to 5 different programs running concurrently within the same group setting since day one. And lots of people who own their own gym or own their own studio will listen to me saying this and go, what are you talking about? That's a ton of work, and how can you manage that? And I did think that as well at the start, going, right, this is going to be a lot to manage with 20, 30, 40, 50, 100, 150, 200 people. It gets more and more complex as you go, because of people who are brand new, people who have injuries, people who just don't want to put their hands on a barbell ever because they heard that it's not good for you. And then you have advanced trainees who want to be the very best that they can be and achieve their athletic potential. So there's such a massive range of ability that we should be looking at all the time as coaches. But you also then have to look at the model that you're running and saying, well, do I need to give that much to everybody? That's a lot of time, and for what we charge? Is that too much of an offering for what we charge? And then people start going, well, you know what, I'm going to charge more. And then they figure out that they're in a location with the gym that they can't charge more for because the demographic is different. So it's a massive amount of thought behind that. And if someone said to me, what's the easiest thing to do, I'd say, keep your offering low and keep it, less complex, and look after people and specialize in one area. And that's where you can really excel at. But I think the functional fitness, CrossFit, I don't know, how you describe it, but that big functional fitness market that came along, everybody wanted to be coaching everybody at everything, and I think it took away from the offering of what a lot of people could actually provide, and it spread people far too thin, and it created more problems than they could actually handle, if that all kind of makes sense.
And as well, so once you opened and you'd kind of finalized all your like ethos and your plans and stuff, how did you begin to attract customers? Was it through a client base you had from working in previous places, or how did you do that?
It was basically local boy stuff. Like I opened, 5 minutes from where I grew up, and I knew a lot of people within the soccer clubs and the Gaelic clubs and runners, triathletes, golfers, every sport that I'd basically been involved in. I still had, a lot of friends and a lot of contacts in it. So I was like, well, you know what, this is what I'm doing. And word got around, and there wasn't really anywhere that was doing what I was putting out there. And I mean, I was putting structure in place for people with strength work, with accessory work, with energy systems and conditioning. And this, from what I could see, just wasn't being offered. I've seen a few CrossFit gyms, and I've seen a few spin studios, and I've seen a few places who are like, oh, we do strongman, or we do, calisthenics, or we do, gymnastics for adults. And I was like, well, do you know what? I don't think people, no one out north County Dublin at that time was actually doing what we were doing. So I knew that once word got around, I would just attract, interest. And before I knew it, I was basically doing fundamentals, which is, our 3 to 5 classes to get people, or our sort of three to 5 sessions to get people ready to join our classes. And I was doing them pretty much every evening. And then that was getting people ready to join the group classes. And then the group classes got busier, and I got to the stage where I had to add a few extra hours. And then I hit that first stage of over enthusiastic burnout, where you're basically trying to work every single hour of every day, and you realize that you can't do this anymore. So you need to take a little bit of a step back and realize, right, how do I grow things without just digging myself into a hole. That kind of developed quite quickly, and it was all quite organic, to be honest. There was a bit of Facebook then, but there wasn't Instagram, and there wasn't really any kind of marketing plan at that time. It was word of mouth, and it was controlling the traffic that was coming through the door.
You touched there on how you felt like you were potentially working a bit too hard trying to get everything off the ground, and clearly it worked and you guys were becoming successful. So why did you decide then to move on to another venture and open Bike Grow Ski?
Well, I suppose I was, what was I, 6 to 7 years in with PTI, and yeah, we were very, very busy, and even more so now. But it just got to that stage where the same thing happened that happened when I started PTI, is that I just noticed a change in the market, and in the kind of landscape of the fitness industry. Because the way that I saw it was, I started out as a 28-year-old, and I was, I wasn't married at that stage, and I'd no kids, and I was renting a house with a friend, and I was just, able to just go and just work all the time with building PTI, and just not really have any other responsibilities or things to actually do. It was just work, train, and that was it. And I think that was coming from a 27, 28-year-old perspective. at least from my kind of 27, 28-year-old perspective, it was just train and work. But and the people that kind of came into PTI at that stage were all very, very similar. They were guys and girls my age who knew me and were coming in, and they were in the exact same kind of boat. They were all, young professionals, not married, no kids, and everyone had loads of time to train and to dedicate to barbells and kettlebells and dumbbells and bodyweight stuff and energy system training and train hard and, have a great time. And then as the years went on, a trend really started to emerge that I noticed that. And again, I got engaged and married, and I had we had our first little girl, Ayla, and then my wife was pregnant with our second little girl, Robin. And as this was all happening, the people getting engaged and married and having children, I suppose the type of client was changing within the gym. Right alongside me, I was seeing that everyone else was getting engaged and married and having one baby and a second baby and applying for a mortgage and, saying, listen, I'm going to just, pause the gym for 2 months because we're applying for this mortgage, and would you mind this, that, whatever? And I was like, yeah, no problem. But people kept coming back to me saying, and listen, can I just pay you to come in and do a class and, just a once off here and there? And I kept having to turn people down and say, look, no, the model is actually a recurring monthly membership model. And that's how we, plan the business and forecast everything going forward. And they were like, yeah, absolutely, no problem. But this request kind of kept coming in from every single angle. And I was like, why am I turning people away who want to be here and want to be a part of our culture, but they can't commit to that style of membership? And I was kind of thinking to myself, going, there has to be a way to look after all these people and, keep everybody happy and not have my business and, go backwards or suffer to some degree. So a personal training client of mine at the time, we were just talking about it all, and he said, look, have you any other ideas? And we basically chatted and forth, and the unnamed bike row ski idea came up, and we said, look, what if we did this and this? And first of all, it was a rowing class, and then it was rowing and skiing, and then I was like, well, you know what, Concept 2 brought out the bike, and they literally just brought out the bike, so that kind of completed the 3 ergs, the 3 machines. And I said, look, you know what, I'm going to try out this bike and see what it's like. And first go on it, I was hooked. I was blown away, and I was like, you know what, because I love the ski erg and I've been rowing for years, and I knew the potency of these machines, and that could be applied to all body types and all ages and abilities. So we said, look, let's put together a business plan, and let's work some numbers and see where we could put it. And we thought about a location, and then we realized that I actually had the space to do it in my current location. So we kept planning a few bits and pieces and putting ideas together and getting the name together, and it just kind of grew from there. It did really come from that whole thing of me noticing that no barrier to entry, all levels fitness class with a really good experience, and it kind of, all these little ideas I had just kind of came together under one roof, and that's where it kind of grew from.
I don't really know if it was the case in Dublin, but abroad we saw a big explosion of that kind of boutique fitness class, and then I guess helped by social media, maybe turning it into a little bit of a trend. Did it ever worry you initially going into a market that was perceived as maybe a bit saturated before you opened Bike Row Ski?
No, in fact, it was quite exciting, and it still is, because I've done quite a few of these boutique classes, and I've done a few classes around Ireland and in the UK and in the States, and like I was very much so impressed with some places in terms of the experience that they offered, but a few of the places that I went, I was just, I mean, I've had a really good fitness education from incredible mentors like Coach Mike Bergener and James Fitzgerald from OPEX and Max El Haj from Training Think Tank, and lots of these different coaches that I've met over the years. And not saying I've seen it all, done it all, absolutely not. But I was just left kind of wanting with a few of the so-called kind of boutique fitness classes. I was in them and it was like, yeah, oh, that was pretty good, and I was treated pretty well, and it was nice, and the people were nice, and the setup was nice. But from a fitness point of view, I was left a little bit like, didn't really feel like I actually got as much from it as I could have. So I definitely felt like and I definitely feel like I do right now have quite a lot more to offer in that market. If I felt that we were going into that market and someone was doing what we were doing, I wouldn't have gone in against a big chain boutique fitness brand and try and beat them at their own game, because a lot of them have such strong brand power that you'd be going in against hundreds of thousands of followers on Instagram and Facebook, and massive backing in terms of finance. And a lot of these companies can make serious moves very, very fast with a lot of power behind them. But I knew that we needed to offer something that wasn't being done and hadn't been done before, and truly I know that Bike Grow Ski is that offering.
Also, I mean, it was probably a very big venture to get all of the new equipment in and things like that. Did you ever seek outside investment or go down that route of pitching and all of that kind of thing?
No, it was myself and my business partner. I took investment on that way at the start, but it wasn't something that was a major obstacle. No, it was all within, very much so within a reasonable budget for us to get going to offer what I wanted to offer. It wasn't like I was looking for a phenomenal investment for this huge piece of tech. It was, and it still is, the big part of what we do is the experience from start to finish. And I knew that with the great team that I have around me, and the original four of us at the start, which was me, Stuart, Mark and Sarah, the four of us at the start, I knew that what we could offer on top of the tech we have involved and the class structure, I knew that what we could offer was more than enough at the start to give us a good footing, and to help us create that kind of platform to grow from.
And you have 5 locations now, is that right?
Yeah, we've 5, and then the 6th and 7th are sitting in the wings, so they're on hold just for the moment, but the next 2 locations, number 6 and 7, are planned already. Yes.
And have you ever thought about franchising internationally?
It's I mean, franchising only came about. I mean, our original plan was 2 studios. It was one in Kinseely, and then the other one was more than likely going to be aimed towards city centre, or slightly more towards South Dublin from the city centre. And we were probably only a month in, and we already had 2 interests from a franchise point of view. So we didn't start it out with the franchising in mind, and then that just grew legs quite quickly. We got 4, 5, 6, and then all of a sudden there was 10 and 15 and 20 different applications. And at this stage now, I'd have to go and check how many have come in, but we generally get 1 or 2 points of interest a week now, and a lot of that started to then come from overseas. Now, we haven't turned anyone down from overseas, but we haven't agreed anything. We've been talking with a few people from both sides of the water, from the US and the UK, and there is interest there, and people are keen to help us take Bike Grow Ski abroad. But and it's extremely exciting from my point of view, to think that this could become an international brand. Absolutely, I think it's part of our future plans, but we really did want to prove ourselves in the Irish market first, and show that you know, one, that we're first to market and a strong brand, and that we can develop a strong following with a really good culture, and show that it's not just about rolling out this studio and then putting in bike rowers and skiers and then say off you go and hands off. Like we very much so wanted to show and are showing that we're very hands-on with our franchises, and making sure that they succeed and helping them with whatever they need to succeed. You know, if that's more, you know, franchise management work, or if that's more customer service work, or if that's more coaching expertise work. We know that the brand, we in no way want to dilute down the brand just to spread its wings further. It's got to be done right, and the locations have to be right, the operators have to be right, the coaches have to be right, and once we are comfortable with that, then yeah, the UK and the US are very much so points of interest for us. Yeah,
that is really exciting. I think I always think it's amazing when you talk to people about, you know, potentially franchising their business. I think people don't realize how much work goes into it behind the scenes. It's not just like signing a piece of paper, you know, and then all of a sudden you're in
yeah.
London or whatever. But I also think it's amazing how fast you grew your business. So what do you think it is about your culture at Bike-O-Ski that's attracted so many people?
It is a number of things, but I can firmly say that it's down to the people that we have working for us. I mean, we have a phenomenal team in all the coaches and the managers in each location. I mean, if I was to try and single out anybody, I'd have a very hard job of doing it. You know, I'm only one part of this team of people that we have, and you know, we've got franchise management roles, we have managers in each location, and then we have, you know, 4 or 5 coaches in each location who are all incredible coaches, and they've all spent time with us, and they've all, you know, gone through you know, coming in, getting into classes, spending time with other coaches, getting feedback, giving feedback, and really investing in their jobs as a Bike-O-Ski coach. And I think that if we didn't invest that much time in all the coaches and all the managers, and sit down with all the operators and owners, and make them see, you know, how passionate we are, and how invested we are in this brand becoming or fulfilling its true potential, I think we'd be wasting people's time. I mean, it's hugely important for us, and the team that I have, I could only be sitting here, you know, chatting to you and other people, and getting all these emails coming in from point of interest is because of that team that we've built. And I think anybody who's ever done something big, and not saying we're anything big, but anybody who has done something big and built something up from one location to multiple locations, I think if they tell you that they were able to do the majority of it on their own, I think they'd be lying. I mean, there's such power in having a team of people around you who will work morning, noon, and night, and keep coming back for more because they believe in it. It's so powerful, you know.
I know it's probably hard to answer because you can't predict the future, but do you have an ultimate end goal of where you want to see Bike-O-Ski end up, or is it just kind of taking every day as it comes?
At the moment, it's a funny one, I suppose, with everything now at the moment. But no end goal. I mean, the goal was, you know, to get to that 5 marker and see could we make 5 places as successful as the others, and you know, we're pretty much there. And then the next stage was to get to double digits, and I know that we could have agreed, you know, 10, 15, 20 locations. I know we could have agreed them 6 months ago, but we held off because we wanted to focus on quality over quantity at the start, and again show every owner operator that comes on board, that, you know, we're not just, you know, throwing out franchises willy-nilly. It's about quality. So end goal is definitely to show the world that Bike Ski is a real brand, and it's a real movement, and it's a real culture. Uh, you know, everybody says that, you know, the US is the proving ground, and I believe that as well. And I do think that we would like to see an overseas location in the UK first, just to basically test the whole dipping your toe in the water for moving this outside of the country, but keep it on a kind of a short string for the moment. So I mean, London is or Manchester or Edinburgh or somewhere is a much shorter hop than flying to New York or LA or something like that. So it'd be a little easier to kind of keep an eye on and to help out with. But no, the US is the goal. That's definitely the goal.
Well, it sounds like you're well on your way to that, and can make it happen fairly quickly once you decide it's something that you're ready for. But I'm sure it hasn't been such a smooth road the whole time. So is there any challenge that sticks in your mind that you had to overcome throughout the whole process?
I suppose from both point of view, what was really important to me at the start was the image and branding of what PTI was, and what Bike Ski was, and what we wanted them to kind of represent. So branding and the kind of image of each business was really, really important, and it kind of took a while with both of them to get that right. Like we'd a few different sort of logos and branding done for each business when I was working on that side of things. But you know, I was quite lucky with the PTI one, and I haven't changed that. I've just kind of had that kind of touched up and redrawn over the years. But that's something that I've never thought about training, because it was just about a simple brand. But Bike Ski was something that, it took a while to get right before we would let it out there. But it was something that we, again, wanted to keep simple, but also to kind of show the three elements all within that one kind of logo. So it was modeled off the Erg fan. So it was something that I wanted to get really, really right, because we had a few different ideas, and they just, looking back at them now, they're just terrible. So this one now we were quite happy with, and I remember the first couple of people who inquired about the franchise and coming to me and saying, you know, have you bought this from the States, or did you buy it from Australia? And I said, what do you mean? And they said, this studio, this is a franchise of somewhere, isn't it? And I said, no, this is ours. This is mine. And they couldn't believe that, based upon just the branding and the class experience. So they were really like, wow, this is actually yours. I thought this looks like an American brand or an Australian brand or something. So that was nice to hear, that I felt like we'd kind of hit the nail on the head. We'd kind of got that right. But yeah, I suppose other challenges, I think it's a real, it was a combination of things for me. It was with Bike Ski, a big challenge was learning to split myself into so many parts quite quickly again, in terms of still running my gym and liaising with the manager and staff for the gym. And then all of a sudden it was building a new brand with a different business that was in the same building, and new staff for that. And then when the franchising option came up and that started moving forward, then it was kind of a three pronged attack, where I was trying to be, you know, a gym owner, a studio owner, a franchise owner, and then also be a dad and a husband, you know. So it was that big kind of juggling thing. And have I got it figured out? Absolutely not. Am I still trying to get it right? Yeah, definitely. I'm still trying to be a better coach and a better businessman, and a better husband and a better dad. And I think that's been the biggest challenge.
It sounds like you're quite the multitasker. I'm not sure if I would ever be able to.
I'm trying anyway. I'm trying.
Well, I think it's evident that you're succeeding with the success of both of your businesses. But speaking of success, I'd be interested to know what your meaning of success is.
Yeah, I think that goes back to my previous points of succeeding in balancing all these things. I'm a big family man. Myself and my wife are both self-employed with our own businesses. And we both work a lot of the time, but we both want to spend as much time as we can with our two little girls. Ayla's 4.5 and Robin's nearly 3. So they're both in the best sense of the word, they're both handfuls, because they're just constantly on the go, and they constantly, want to, be a part of what we're doing, or see what we're doing, or talk to us, or play, or get time with us. So for me, a big part of success is maintaining family time, and making sure that I can, hopefully in the future, just be there to constantly provide for my family, and give them, the things that they need to have a good life. But from if that's kind of one side of the coin, then the other side is I've definitely got, business goals and aspirations, and once Bike Ski showed that it had this popularity and this following, and that to some degree an initial success, it was really, the goals kind of changed from having a second business that can provide for myself and my family, and for a great coaching team, and to help them all earn money and make a decent living. I suppose the franchising kind of reorientated my goals, and I started saying, well, do you know what, I'd really like to, I suppose, create success internationally. To me, to be able to go somewhere like the UK or the US, and to feel like I have, planted roots in some sense, from an Irish brand, to me would be absolutely mind-blowing.
I'd say it's probably an indescribable feeling when you first see, things you've been thinking of for so long come to life in physical form. I guess my last question for you today, and then I'm going to let you go. If I put your 10-year-old self in front of you now, from where you're sitting today, having been through everything that you've been through, all the ups and downs, what's the biggest piece of advice you would give your 10-year-old self?
Oh, that is a difficult one. Well, I think that everything that, 10 years old, I was kicking the ball against a wall where I grew up, for hours a day, and I was so focused on, if you do this amount of times kicking the ball against the wall, you're going to get better and better and better, and in some way, that's true, if in some way, that you've got to basically keep working at something to get better, and you're not going to be handed everything. You're going to have to work for it. And I think from a training point of view, and from a sport point of view, and from a school point of view, I think I was pretty diligent as a kid. I don't think I was the smartest, and I don't think I was the best from a sport point of view, but I always worked hard, and I always applied myself. I think when I got into the later stages of school and into college, I think when I, just because of the personality that I am, when I stop enjoying myself, or I stop enjoying what I'm doing, that tends to take my focus away from something. So I think that for me, it might sound very cliche to say that, to make sure that, keep doing something that you enjoy. And I've been lucky in that I had, supportive parents. When I came home from Bolton Street, one day I was in DIT Bolton Street doing engineering. I was in 2.5 years in, and I came home one day and I was terrified to say, I don't really want to do this anymore. And I was so lucky that they were supportive and said, well, what do you want to do? So I think I wouldn't really change anything that I would say to my 10-year-old self. I would say, look, just keep doing what you enjoy doing, but you're gonna have to work really hard at it if this thing's gonna move forward.
Well, thank you so much, Stephen. It's been really great chatting with you. Your story is really inspiring.
No problem. Thanks a million for having me on. It's great.
Thank you so much for listening, and as always, please rate, share, and leave a comment if you like what you hear. And don't forget to follow @WhatIt'sLikePod on Instagram and Facebook. For more information on Bike Row Ski and Performance Therapy Ireland, visit the link in the description. I'll be back next week with more inspiring stories, but for now, this has been What It's Like with Luce.